Hello everyone! Today we are going to make a dress in Style3D. So here I have an application open. We have Style3D by default. First we'll need to import our avatar or model to use for styling. For this we have a small tool here on the right, like a cube. And when you click on the cube you have all the resources. Go to avatar, female, and I prefer this one. Just click OK. We'll put her in the middle. And if you want later you can personalize. You have some emotions, different emotions, maybe make you smile. You have some gestures. And so on. So shoes, maybe I will put her on heels. I think it's what you already have. But you can download some more. And if you don't have enough here, with the free version of Style3D you can download, if I remember, 20 or 25 assets per month. You can just go here to cloud and download more. If you have a marketplace, you can just search for category and you have some haircuts, have some shoes and so on. So you can download more if you need more. Hair. In general, like this one. Oh, okay. So we have our avatar. You can zoom and de-zoom on a touchpad. On Mac, if you want to turn, you use 2 fingers and you click on your touchpad and you can turn. If you want to move like this, it's Option and you move with your mouse or touchpad. So that's all you need. So here, this is the simulation zone. We have our avatar in 3D. We will draw our pattern here on this part. And again, to move it's the same. So we can zoom with our touchpad and Option and touchpad. We can move here. We see our model. We will draw a pattern in 2D here. The tools we need to make our pattern are here on the up. On the select, or to move if you want to select a piece of pattern. Edit pattern, we'll use this tool each time we'll need to adjust something. Those tools are for curves. Don't create some curves. We'll draw with a pen tool. It's a kind of tool that you may know from Photoshop, for example. There are some other basic shapes. Maybe we will use rectangle, or if you want to create a dart, for example, to adjust your clothes to body better. Pleats. This is the tool that makes pleats. The Fullness tool is also interesting. We'll use together today. So let's start by creating a simple dress, very simple form. So in this class we are not focused on building the exact patterns that are good for production, but we'll do approximate patterns to be able to simulate the dress and have a nice 3D dress. So we don't need to draw the full pattern, let's draw just half of the pattern. That's exactly what we do when we sew. The patterns are generally symmetric, and even if your dress is not symmetric, Start with really very simple basic shapes and very like basic bodies and skirt or pants, and then you will be able to adjust it, make holes and so on. So let's start with the pen tool. Here we have an armhole. I'll reduce it a little for adjustment, and the skirt. So we can make like this, or maybe we can make like this. With Command Z you can choose to go back. So now I have a half of the dress. I need the second half. We'll use select tool. Select it, right click, symmetric pattern. Now we'll have a symmetric pattern here. So we have both parts of the dress. So now we need it to be one piece. So if you want to have a zip or sewing here, you can keep it like this, but you can choose edit pattern, choose the line, right click, merge, and now it becomes same pattern. So what it does, because we made a symmetric pattern, now if we adjust one side, the other side will be adjusted automatically. So very practical. Now we need the back. So we also need the back. Let's start simple. Again, we'll just copy this piece, Command C and Command V, and we have it. Okay, it also appeared here. So we have two pieces. We have front and the back. They are same. We will adjust them later. Now let's sew. It's a very simple basic dress. Let's sew it. At first, look, you have the right side and the wrong side of the tissue. So we'll need to turn our back side. We can choose it and turn. So now it's facing the wrong side to the body. And we will adjust it, put it behind the model. A little bit upper, because when clothes are simulated, they will fall down. Just a little upper. Okay, seems fine. Now we will need to add sewing lines, otherwise everything will just fall down. So for sewing, we will have this tool, edit sewing, if you want to edit seams that are already here. Segment sewing, the one that I use quite often, it will sew one segment to another segment. All segments is point to point here. Free sewing also will sew more freely, so if you want to sew multiple segments together, you can use free sewing. Okay, let's do it. So let's add sewing here, segment sewing. Up. We'll sew the shoulders. Look, it should be straight. So if you have it crossed like this, it's not good. It will need to be straight. If you have a small arrow that shows that sewing is on the same way. And given that we have a symmetric pattern, the sewing is now on both sides. So now for the arm, we need to keep the armhole, so we are not going to sew here. Here we are. Okay, seems fine. Let's simulate. To simulate, I'm going to use this button. So this button. If everything's right, the dress is simulated, and that's about right. So now if you want, you can adjust it. You stop simulation, you use edit pattern, and you adjust. So it's a little bit too tight on her. We can resimulate and it's better, getting better. Maybe we want the back to be less high and the front more deep. Okay, so let's work with this. Let's adjust, maybe add some sleeves. Ah yes, if you want to adjust it, you can do it directly on her like this. If you need to some adjustment, if it didn't simulate well, if some parts are not exactly where you want them to be, you can adjust directly on the model. Okay, let's add sleeves. So we can just start with a simple rectangle like this. It would be very big, I think. No, it's very big. Okay, we'll start with this. So now there is a trick. You can actually wrap your pattern around the avatar, so it's better for simulation. You can go here, avatar, and you have multiple possibilities. Here you have arrangement points. So I can pick my pattern and ask it like to arrange around the arm. Oh, it's already look a little bit like we want it. It's still too big. Way too big. So we can try to add seams and simulate and see how it goes. So I would just to note that the real pattern of the sleeve is a little bit more complex. It's just a rectangle. We'll talk about it later. We'll adjust it a little bit. But as I told you, in this class we will not be focused on the exact patterns, but more how to generate our 3D dresses and how to generate the ideas fast and to test the ideas. We'll be able to adjust it later. Okay, let's go segment sewing. Maybe we can do it here, it's easier. And just for the sake of the simulation, so we need to sew a part of the sleeve to the up and another part here. And we didn't exactly measure that it's match. So what I do when I do my 3D sketches, you can pick the upper part of your sleeve, right click, split, and just split to two segments, uniform split. You have a point in the middle. So now we can sew this part to here and this part here. Let's simulate. And we have a sleeve. So you see it's not perfect because normally sleeves are not rectangles. So actually the armholes are a little bit curved. and sleeve have a kind of curved form, also like this. So let's try to adjust a little bit to make it look a little better. So this is our front piece. We'll take edit arc tool and we'll curve this a little bit. Okay, it's not better. There is too much of the tissue here. So now let's adjust this pattern, edit pattern. Let's move it a little upper, like this, maybe like this, and then use edit curve. And double click on it. Let's see if it's better. Maybe we'll need to do the seams again. Let's try to go again. Arrangement points. Put our sleeve nicely. And verify if the seams are right. Okay, this is better. You see, it's already much better. Make it a little shorter. And we have our sleeve, so you can make it a little smaller. Okay. So if you want to fold it like this, it's possible. You can also add, for example, something on her wrist, or like make it more creative. Let's try to do this. We'll use a small rectangle, like smaller than the sleeve, much smaller, just to the size of her wrist. Arrangement, we'll arrange it around her wrist. Maybe it's too small. Make a sewing line. And we want just to sew together the sleeve and not bad. You see, you have more materials here, so it creates some folds. Okay, so we have this. I'll need the second one. What we can do with the second one is to use again our copy symmetric pattern with seam. I will just add it on the other side and it appears immediately on the other side. Magic. And of course, if you modify one sleeve, the other sleeve will be modified also. So if you want to do some modifications here, we have them. So now, maybe you want to adjust skirt, add some fullness, for example. Let's see how to do this. We have a fullness point here, and maybe we want to add some fullness, like from here to here. I didn't do it the right way, but yeah, it works. So do it the other way around from here to here. Now we can add some fullness. So it adds on the both sides. If you don't want it be to both sides, you will need to deactivate symmetry that is somewhere here. Remove linked editing. So if you remove linked editing, you will not be able to edit simultaneously both parts. Oh, so if you need it, here it is. So it adds some fullness to the skirt. Maybe we want to add some embellishments or some like cuts. We can do this. Okay, just move around patterns to see them better. Maybe you want to have some like embellishment here. Let's do this. I will delete this point. Make a curve on the back with the edit curve tool. So let's create, for example, a rectangle, or maybe smaller. This is a very big one. Let's create a small rectangle like this, and we'll make an embellishment. Like free sewing tool. Let's sew it here. Up, segment sewing. I mostly use segment sewing. Up, have some embellishment. We can create a triangle seam on the other side. If we move it to the other side, it will be easier. Have some embellishment. Maybe we can add one on the back too. So this time I just copy pasted it without any additional seams and so on. Up, segment sewing. So sometimes it could be handy if you need to put something in her head. Okay, I'll just start over. Just position it better. And what we can also do is to click on it and say reset 2D arrangement selected. So now it's just a 2D again. And it will be easier to position. Don't want it. So I flip it, it's not the right way. Like I see that it's not the right way. The right way. Edit sewing, we'll delete the sewing line. Here, we'll turn it over. So it's easier. Is it right? Still not. Yes, here. And now I will add sewing again. So it will be right. So here, it's good. And then if you want to stitch them together, you can do it. No, not this one. Sometimes it's easier to see on 3D, sometimes it's easier to see on 2D for the stitches. I'll simulate if it looks right. Oh, it's okay. So now what if you want to add some holes, or maybe you want to split your dress and you want to have a different tissue here. We can go to our pattern, use our pen tool and create line. Double click to end line. Select tool, you select the line, and what you can do, you can cut or cut and sew. Let's cut and sew. And I can do the same like on the upper part. Pen from one point to another, double click, select, right click on the line. You may need to zoom up a little, cut and sew, and now you see that I have different pattern pieces here, so I can apply different textures or maybe different materials to those. I can do the same on the back. Let's also, before proceeding, let's add some pockets, like just very simple pockets in front. So rectangle tool, pocket kind of like this. Okay, let's see, pockets like this. So what we'll do is we'll click to the pocket, and you can see that you can convert to hole, to make a hole, for example. We want to clone as pattern here. So now we have something that will be attached to it. And we'll do the same with the second one. Clone as pattern. Have two pockets and we'll need to sew them. Let's use free sewing this time. We'll need to sew from here to here, and now we'll just follow the line, and we'll do the same here. Click on the start point, go through the line, click at the end point, then go where you want to sew it. Let's move those patterns a little. So it simulates better. And we have pockets. If you have some problem simulating that it goes, for example, underneath and not on the up, you can go here and in properties you choose layer 1, temporary, get the layer 1. It explains you that you shouldn't keep layer 1, you should put back everything to 0, so I know. And when it simulates properly, so you simulate again, you go back to 0. So that's work if you want to have multiple layers, if you want to have something underneath your dress and so on. So okay, we have our basic dress kind of ready. So if you want to add holes or maybe add cuts and so on, you can play with it. Let's now choose a nice fabric. So here we have default fabric. If we go to the resource library here, it's again this cube, we have fabrics. Here we have plenty of fabrics, so don't care much for the color. We can change the color, but you have pattern, you have type, you see some silk, have some texture, you know how they behave. So some of the tissues are quite rigid, others are very light. So for example, this one would be very stiff and thick. Have some that are quite metal. Anyway, we can control for all of this, but if you already have something that is nice, like that you like, or you know what tissue you want to use, so you can pick one. And again, you can go to the cloud and you have more of them. Just know that some of them will not be directly visible in your window. For example, all those laser tissues you will need to render to see. But you can have a lot of tissues. You have kind of leather. Like, let's go for leather. Let's try. There is a fur also, so you can try fur. Let's download this one too. Kind of like this one. We'll see how it looks. In free version, I think we are limited to 20 per month. Okay, now we have our tissues here. Let's take one. We have wool also. We have fur too. Okay, where they are? They're somewhere here. Ah yes, here, mesh. So just double click and it will add to our fabric list. But let's go for this one. Okay, how to apply it? If you want to apply it to any pattern, just choose everything and slide, and it will apply. As I told you, the laser, it doesn't appear, so we'll need to simulate it. If you want to see how the laser look like, we'll need to go to tools, line render first, and we'll click sync. We'll need to wait a little based on the computer you have. It can take quite a lot of time, and then it will appear, but it will render realistically your garment, so you see how it looks like. And of course, before rendering, you can change the position of your avatar. You can adjust your dress so it's nice. So here it's rendering. More you wait, the better the quality is. So it use the power of your computer to calculate the lights. We can also, before rendering, we can add some props, maybe a stage, some lights. We'll try to do it later, just to show you that if your tissue disappear, it's maybe normal. So I'll just stop it here. So it's not still very good quality, but you can save the photo if you want. So this was offline render. So let's try another fabric. The one that maybe will be visible. Of cotton, maybe a polyester, like this one maybe. I will choose again cotton, and you see this one is visible, so no problems with this. Choose different materials for different slots. So for example, I have my mesh clothes, I can put it to pockets. Okay, well, here. So now you see that we have a mesh on top and on pockets. So yeah, on the back it's not very perfect. You can maybe adjust it to be a little bit less tight, or we need to add our darts to adjust it better for the back. Maybe I can add a mesh also to those parts. It's better to pick all of them and then slide. And here we are. So we have a mesh and we have some embellishments. And if you want, we can add something maybe on the back like this, like a cut. Find the tool to make it. We can, for example, make it on the side like this. On the side like this. Let's try. Select, cut and sew. Now this is what we have. I actually find it nice. So if you want to adjust the color, you choose your fabric. Then you have property editor on the fabric. So you have, it's a woven fabric. You can change if it's silk or leather or something, so it will behave a little differently. You can add texture. So here I have a texture that is default. You can change the texture. It's a simple small image that repeats, so it's a repeating pattern or repeating texture. Tiles can be generated, for example, with Midjourney artificial intelligence if you want. You can scan a real fabric, so it's up to you. So it's basically a repeating pattern. You can overlay color on it. So you can change the default color. So if you want something drawn as a pattern, like dotted pattern or anything, you can change the texture. So you modify the texture and you will have a pattern on it. Okay. So here you can have a gloss. You can make it more glossy, like leather, or less, like very matte, that is not reflecting. You can make it more metal. So again, something like futuristic, very glossy, very metal. And you can make it transparent also, like add some transparency. You also have physical properties, so we can have a more or less stretch, more or less bend. So if you want it to be like very stiff, the stiffness, so it will behave differently. So you see it's become very stiff, like kind of balloon. You can make it less stretchy or more stretchy, like more or less stiff. You see the behavior change completely. Okay, so let's just adjust the top a little bit and then try to make animation. to make it a little bit less visible. I think it's better. So, okay, now that you have your dress, so you can spend more time on it, so it's be much better. So you have some basic dress. Let's go to tools, and in tools we have animation editor. Animation editor, we have on this part the animation, possible animation. If you want to change your pose and then render in a nice pose, you can choose a pose here. There are plenty of poses like ballet, yoga poses, T poses, straight, and so on. Like this one, for example, you add your pose, you keep transition animation because that's what make it fluid. Then once you have a pose, you click this, it will simulate the fabric record. It can take a little time, but the model moves and the fabric moves with the model. If you play with this, you see the model moves. You can go back if you need the pose again. So now you can choose a nice place. Let's add a stage. You can add a stage. We have scenes here. So I already have some scenes. I have some simple studio lightings. You have some walls, some like podium. I think I downloaded this one from Sketchfab. You can go to Sketchfab, have a stage like this. So let's try this on. Just double click. You have some more stages here, and yes, if you go to Sketchfab, you can download some others. But here we have more. Actually, it was here. This one is nice. Maybe try to download this one. So I've just added this one. Let's see how it looks. It's quite nice too. So you can try to render. Let's see if it's good. Go to offline render. We will choose, it will render exactly what we see here. If you may need to adjust some properties. Properties are here, rendering image properties. So you have the image size, what would be the size of the image you render. The bigger the size, longer it will take. Direction, resolution. So again, better, high is the resolution, high is the quality of the image. It will take more time. Render property. So maybe here you can use a graphic card if you have one that is powerful. Noise threshold, you can reduce max render time. So if your machine is not very powerful, you can reduce here the max render time. So I find that like even 5 or 7 can be enough to produce nice render. And the rendering quality, again, high quality will take more time, and if you want it to be more rapid, you choose fast quality. And the noise will take a little more time, but let's try. You see, more time it takes, better is the image. You may want to adjust lighting also, because sometimes there is a very huge quality difference based on the lighting and how the light is positioned. If you need a nice image to show to your customer or to publish on social media, just wait 5-10 minutes and you will have a very nice image. Okay, I will stop this. And to show you that we can do also animation, so let's go back to this position. I'm just deleting the pose, and you have move here, walk on high heels, so you have two types of walks, and this one. And what I like to do is animation stays in current position and animation starts from avatar current position. So when you pick animation stays in current position, she will not walk like on a runway, she will just walk in place. That's what I like to choose. But here we've chosen the runway, we can also pick the runway. And again, we'll need to simulate, it will be a little bit longer. We'll need to simulate our clothes to go with animation. You can simulate multiple times. If you don't like how the simulation went, maybe you can adjust something and simply try again. Okay, it's done. So we can produce a nice video based on this animation. Okay, here, so she moves, she start walking here, so we will start a video here. Just move this green line up. She walks. Maybe we can make her walk a little less fast. So what we can do, we can move the camera. So for example, we start in this position. So she will start walking in this position. We'll go to camera, right click, insert keyframe, and it will be here, this one. Here. So she will start in this position and we want it to de-zoom. So let's de-zoom like this. And maybe go a little down. And we'll make another point. Insert keyframe. So I don't know why all the time I have this. And you see it moves by itself. So now maybe we want it to move like this. To show her from the side. So this is the wall of the prop. So that's why based on the animation we want, we'll need to choose the right props. Insert keyframe. You can zoom on some details. Maybe changing stage could be better, but let's go with this. So we have our video, want to export it. Export. You have two possibilities. You have local rendering that will produce quality image like we did for the photo. So you may need it for fur, for example. If you use laser clothes or fur, you may need local rendering. Just know that it can take a lot of time. So maybe like if you count 1 or 2 minutes per image and this video is long, maybe you can shorten this green part to only pick a very small part of it and just pick mp3 save final video, and you see the rendering will be fast here. Okay, succeed. I have my final video in documents. It is not bad. So if the quality is not enough good, so make higher quality, because I choose a fast render. The quality is quite average. But you can make better quality. I will just show you some other, for example, the fur. This is the render for fur. And here you have a render. So this is the actual render, fast render. And here I have an image that I've rendered like for 10 minutes. And you see it with a good lighting. You have a very, very nice render. It depends on a lot of lighting, so you can try different lightings. So if you want to change lighting, you have lighting settings here in offline render. So you have light library, you have some different lightings, cold light, backlight, high contrast. I like this one. This one can be very nice sometimes. This one is very nice too. So yeah, you can change your lighting, and you have some intensity of light. You can add color to your light. So sometimes just playing with lights make difference. So you have multiple lights. We see them here. So here you have the lights. So you can move them closer, you can make them bigger. So you can move them closer. So sometimes changing the lighting change a lot in perception. And of course choose different scenes, like just before we've downloaded this one, I think. So different scenes, you have different lightings. So you have some lightings by default you can move them closer, or change, and it will change how your photo look like, how your dress look like. This seems pretty. I'll save this one. It's quite nice. Some nice details. So if you waited more, it would be less grained. But in less than 10 minutes, I think it's already very nice. Okay, so now you have your photos and videos for social media. You will want to expose your dress in a 3D space. You can choose, for example, one of the pose of the model when she's walking. Like this is quite nice. And export it to place into your space. So I like the dynamic poses, it's nice. You can also play, you will be in spatial. In spatial, it will be up to you where you want to place your dress. So there is no gravity imposed. You can make her floating around. You can probably use a ballerina pose and then create something dancing in the air. So you just use, like if you want to choose another pose, you just go back into the initial pose, delete all those, add your pose, simulate, and then you work with this. You can choose one of the nice poses where she walked and you think it was nice. It's dynamic. File, export. So here I have different possibilities. You can go for OBJ, FBX or GLB, GLTF. They are all supported by Spatial. We'll use later FBX to import it to Snapchat filter and to create a Snapchat filter with your dress. For Spatial you can go for GLB or GLTF. You pick the name, mermaid dress, and now you have some parameters. So we want all patterns, we don't want props. And if you want an avatar, you can export it like this with an avatar, but usually I export just a dress. I prefer the look of it without an avatar, but you can export one or another. You can make compile all mesh and uncheck everything, so you will just have one object. You're not going to work with it much more. Maybe we'll texture it later, but compile all mesh will just create one single object with one single mesh. Millimeters, maybe centimeters is better. If you export it in millimeters, it will be very, very small. At least for just Snapchat, if I remember well, we will use centimeters. And thin, yes. Don't use thick, it will create heavy object. Thin. Okay. And that's it. You have your object, you can just import it to spatial. Unfortunately, in Style3D we cannot export animation, but at least you have like nice object for your space. If your object is too heavy, you can choose, like if it's too big and spatial is telling you it's too big, maybe you can try to export it without avatar. Maybe without avatar it will be enough. If even without avatar it's too big, you can change the particle distance here, make it bigger. It will simplify the object. However, you will need to redo all the animations, and the tissue will not fall in the same way, so you'll need to see if you maybe need to adjust things.